and 24/7 at WMAPradio.com, where we bring you the world's most amazing people. Make us part of your day.
All right, WMAP, it's Capriana. So I have Letitia Lee on the phone with us today. She is a writer, producer, and director of My Love Is One, Tell Them, the Messiah story. So with us here today to talk about it, we have Letitia. Letitia, how are you?
Great. How are you today, Capriana?
I am doing very good. Thank you for coming on WMAP Radio today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. So let's get started. Give us a little background about yourself and what exactly is it that you do?
I'm an author, entrepreneur, and filmmaker. The book is basically, the author aspect is actually what I've been focusing on because the book, My Love Is One, what I learned from the Messiah about love, climate change, and the second coming, really transpired out of several visitations I started to have, supernatural visitations I started having with God. So being primarily initially an entrepreneur, the book, the information, and the visitations kind of started taking over my life. Mm-hmm. And as I got older, getting older, I realized I really had to put pen to paper and just focus on this right now. There was a sense of urgency, and obviously it was kind of an odd experience. And so much information was coming, and as I was getting older, I started to realize I really need to record this information. And now I'm starting to see why the timing was just so perfect. So this is kind of what's been encompassing my life for the last couple of years.
Yeah, of course. So let's talk about those supernatural visitations that you talk about. What exactly is that?
It's actually, there have been visitations basically from God. It started when I lived in Brooklyn several years ago. I had a couple of visitations, and I thought it was odd. I thought maybe I was overworked or stressed. I used to scout locations for movie studios and produce music videos and do commercials. I said, well, maybe I'm just overworked. But it was so clear and so concise, I realized that there may be a little bit more to it. So I ended up leaving New York City and moving back to my hometown, where I actually started recording some of the information. But it really wasn't until recently that they actually became physical visitations. First, it was just I would see it in my dreams, and then a couple of times I would literally hear the voice of God, like from the walls, like someone talking, and it was just like, obviously it would get your attention, right? And I knew I wasn't in New York. It wasn't like some loudspeaker outside, literally reverberating throughout the room. Wow. I was like, does anyone else hear this? Because I would imagine somebody would hear it from blocks. And then eventually I started getting physical visitations where it was just face-to-face, which I would have thought would have like burned the whole room or something. But nope, just regular visitations as if a normal person just came to visit, from dream state to just hearing it in the ethers to someone appearing.
So who exactly was it that would visit you? Did you say it was God that would visit you, or you would only hear his voice?
Initially, it was just the voice. It was actually through several years, and then just most recently, I started receiving the physical manifestation. And it's recorded in the book because it was actually first, I used to dream that I would see Moses when I was dreaming and when I was living in New York. Wow. And then two messengers came while I lived in New York City. And then when I moved back to Rochester, it was literally the voice of God. So I knew something else was coming. It was almost like a prelude to something else that was happening. And I was just saying to myself, like, you know, you could go to a synagogue, or you can go to a pastor or someone else, you know. And I'm saying to myself, it took a little while because I myself was doubting it at first, but I knew. I mean, it was so clear. It's as clear as the conversation I'm having with you right now. So I realized, let's not question this. Let's just start recording. Because I knew I had asked some very pertinent questions, and apparently I had asked some questions that no one had asked before, which even I found very hard to believe. But I think other people may have asked the questions, but I don't know if they were listening for the answer. And apparently I was, as I was told.
Wow. It's all so interesting that you have an ability that a lot of people don't have. It's what was it like the first time that you realized that you are hearing the voice of God?
The first time, I remember initially it was first in a dream state, and it happened. It was like a huge giant tree, like a physical, angelic being, but it was like 12 feet tall, holding my hand. And I was not really a believer at the time. I was agnostic. I really just kind of, I was like, maybe you have to answer a few questions for me. I have questions, and things aren't so perfect in my life, whatever. If you're real, I would love to know this, this, and this. So I had this mental scroll of questions. And in that first interaction, I literally got every single question answered so lovingly and so patiently that by the time I finished, I knew it was almost morning. It had to be. It felt like hours. And this entity was holding my hand, and I looked up, and first I was like, oh, my gosh, you are so tall. And then I was like, you answered every single question. Like, I wanted to prove you didn't exist. And I'm looking, and I'm like, you're like a tree. You're like huge. I mean, literally like 12 feet tall, something like really massive. Wow. And then I was just like, okay, did I move my lips because I'm looking and we're having this conversation, and I'm realizing, I'm like, I started to take in all the physical aspects of it, whereas before I just had let go of everything, and it was just I was allowing this presence, and just like I felt like a child holding, like the way you felt when you were maybe like 4 or 5 years old, holding your parents' hands crossing the street, and you're just talking like blah 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 blah, blah whatever. Or you need comfort after you've fallen or something like that, or you scraped your knee. And, like, when was the last time you had that feeling? Do you know what I mean? It's like you see kids now. I have my nieces and nephews and so forth, and I'm picking them up all the time, and we're holding hands across the street. So it was that feeling of comfort and protection. But I felt like a child again. Do you know what I mean? In a very comforting, protected way, in the way a child first asks all things like, what's that? What's that? What's that? But by that time, I was in my 20s, and I had some really hard, serious questions. I was living in New York. Things were, I was very fortunate. I had a few really good breaks. I mean, I had worked for, Paramount Studios and doing locations for them on their movie, and I'd worked for Spike Lee and a few other people, and it seemed like it was really the good life. I mean, and so forth, that I could live a fairly decent life. I could, I could take care of myself and so forth and live fairly well and travel and all these other wonderful things. But, it was like during the AIDS crisis, so a lot of my friends in the arts and so forth had passed away, and it was like they were dropping like flies, and I had like a lot of questions. It was the first time in my life I had incurred the experience of people close to me dying. And, you're 20, you think you're going to live forever. That kind of mentality, you know what I mean? Like teenagers, you do, you know what I mean? You drive fast, you do all these things, and you think you're going to live forever. That kind of mentality you still have in your 20s. But at that point, I was like, ooh, like people are like falling, like what's going on, and what's happening, and where do they go after they leave that, that to that other realm? And this is somebody I was just talking to last week, or hanging out with last year, or we were really close, and da-da-da, and so I had all of these questions, and because I was really doubtful about the reality of there being a living God at first. And so by that end of the conversation, I was like 100% like, oh, this is real.
Wow. I mean, what an unreal experience, though, to actually, go through something like this and then realize, wait, is this actually happening?
Right. Well, I didn't question it after that. Initially, any time before that experience, I would have. But to have awakened and had all those questions, I don't even remember those questions, but what it inspired me to do was to delve into the Bible and so forth. Because prior to that, I was just like a little bit here, a little bit there. It could have been like read the Bhagavad Gita, read the, little Buddhism, all of the, I was like here and there dabbling. My life was good. I was like, really, do I have much to question? Except it was, even though I had at that time gotten everything I wanted, like so many other people who get what they want, especially at an early age, it was something that was missing. And then some people close to me had been, dying and so forth. I was like, my gosh, I'm not that extraordinary. How is it that I'm living and I still get to move on? And all these people, and there's some, what I thought were some seemingly really good people, and their lives ended early. So I started asking questions, and I couldn't get past a certain point in the Bible when I started reading, and I was just like, this just seems so unplausible. I started asking a couple of questions, and there were 2 or 3 questions I remember asking, and it was just, I don't know if I was just like trying to find an excuse not to finish reading it, but I was reading a lot. I was, exploring. So it's like we were in the book of Genesis. I mean, like, it's just the first book, right? Mm-hmm. And I must have been in, like, the second chapter or something, and I was like, what? And I remember asking certain questions out loud as if I was talking to a person. And I was just sitting there, somewhat skeptical, and I had 2 or 3 specific questions. And I remember saying, listen, this is a little bit, difficult to believe, but I'm open. So if you could just explain this, how about I don't go any further until I get an answer about this, and that? And if you can actually explain that for me in a way that just seems plausible, then we can continue reading this book. In the meantime, I'm going out to play.
Right. I mean, there's so many different factors with everything that you're saying right now. It's so many different experiences that you've had that brought you to this moment. So I want to let my listeners know this is Letitia Lee on the phone with us. She's the writer, producer, and director of My Love Is One, Tell Them, and it's the Messiah story. So Letitia, so I want to ask you. So we talked about global warming briefly when we first started the interview. So why exactly is global warming, climate change? Why is it happening so fast? And why is there nothing scientists or the government can do about it?
Well, 2 things. First of all, it does seem pretty basic in terms of understanding that government and scientists can't do anything that refers to the heavenlies and the earth. I mean, that's like saying, how can we control the temperature of the sun? How can we get the moon just sitting just a certain way? I don't care how much money you have. You can't run away from a problem that has to do with things that man sort of has contributed towards in terms of global warming and so forth. This is the earth really belongs, it was given to man, but the heavenlies belong to the Lord. So anything that pertains to, like, trees, the air, anything that God created, you really have to refer to the Creator, who is like the manufacturer of the product, to correct it. It just makes, it's really common sense, right? Yeah. It's like, I'm going to give you this land here, so you're going to manage this property. But the people who are managing the property really never read the instruction manual, and it is very specific, and it is in the Bible. We call it the Bible, Jews call it the Tanakh, but it's a very specific instructional guide of which we have completely, in general, as humanity, have ignored. And so, like, the temperature increasing rapidly is layered. There's a multitude of things happening. First, there are the obvious things that we know that we've contributed to. Yes, we know about the CO2 emissions, but it also has a lot to do with the 24/7 access to technology. All of these things require energy, and it's not just the wires and the fiber optics and so forth. It's also humanity. It's like, you have a body temperature. We know that you have. Most people don't realize that they contributed their body temperature. If you're on technology and your brain is on 24/7. I don't know if you were old enough to remember when the programs used to go off at like 11 or 12 o'clock, and then there was like a blank screen from midnight to 6 a.m., lights off, computer off. There was no computers on at that particular time except these mass corporations. But everything was off, so it was kind of like the earth had time to quiet down and so forth. It's like man had time to turn off your lights and your energy and so forth. The kids didn't have the computer on all night, and there's some houses where the computer stays on 24/7, and even businesses and so forth and lights. All of that contributes towards it, as well as your body temperature, thinking and constantly on go, 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 with headphones on 24/7. So it's like all of these things, including the fact that we don't do certain basic things the way that the earth is designed, like to till the soil every 7 years, let the land rest. The Lord put the vacuum cleaners, I call them, in the oceans, like shellfish and so forth, that literally cleans the ocean, but we've been eating them. There are certain birds and vultures that we're not supposed to eat, and they are part of the air and so forth in terms of vacuuming and cleaning certain elements in the earth. So it's like there were certain things put into the earth to keep things balanced. So everything is out of course because we have totally disrespected the laws that pertain to keeping the earth in order. And then there's something else going on behind the scenes, which we talk about in the movie. And it is pretty major. And it has to do with what humans are doing and the decisions they have to make in terms of what is going on within human beings, and it's a really huge factor. But I'm going to let them watch the movie to see that factor, and they in turn have an opportunity to make a difference in terms of slowing down climate change, and that is like a huge part of it. But the part that I will tell them that they can do as far as corporations are concerned, because governments can't do anything, nor can scientists, they can only observe it, and they can maybe reward companies and or people, basically companies who do their part. But, there's certain nuclear testing and things like that going on. Like, the government has to, what are they going to do? If they bomb somebody, someone's going to bomb you back, and then that's the end. So let's just stop playing that. You can't play that game. There's no winner in that. But as individuals, as far as on your day-to-day living is concerned, you can invest in companies that contribute towards sustainable products, lifestyles, and all these other things. You reward them by investing in them, and you divest in those who are basically doing harm to the earth and food substances and so forth. So we have to kind of take back your power, so to speak, and individuals have to become a little bit more responsible, socially responsible. Individually, as a family, and as a community, we have more impact and more say-so than any government or scientist or any nation, singularly or collectively, in this particular matter. So there's a lot more that we can do than we currently have that understanding. I think we understand, but we just have to mature in that area.
Definitely. I want to say we're just about almost out of time. Thank you so much for coming on WMAP Radio. You have so many incredible things to say, so many incredible stories. If my listeners are just tuning in right now, we have Letitia Lee on the phone with us. She's a writer, producer, and director of My Love Is One, Tell Them, the Messiah Story. So, Letitia, what would be a way for us to come in contact with you or to watch the movie?
You should go to the website. It's myloveis1.com. That's O-N-E, myloveis1.com. They can get the book. They can click on the movie. And you can also click the contact if you have any questions and so forth. And we also have, I think, the social media links on Twitter and Instagram, which I just finally joined, is actually at the movie site. I don't know if I actually put it on the website as yet, which I should, but it definitely is on the movie link, which is actually at myloveis1.com. Or you can go directly to tellthem.live. But myloveis1.com is where they can contact us, get the book, get the movie, and get more information, and follow us on social media.
All right.
And the blog.
And you heard her. So it's myloveis1.com. Take a look at the movie. Get a copy of the book. So many things are coming from Letitia Lee. So many incredible things. Once again, we have writer, producer, and director of My Love Is One, Tell Them, the Messiah Story. Letitia, thank you so much for coming on WMAP Radio today.
Thank you so much for having me today, Capriana. The best to you and your audience, and we look forward to hearing some great things for all you guys.
Yes, take care now. Bye-bye.
Thank you.